What's up, dude? What do you like about Trump?
I mean, I think his hair is nice. He's not a woman.
It's debatable. He's
It's
not a
debatable that
woman.
he's a woman. Is that
No,
debatable?
that he's no, that his hair is nice.
Oh yeah, I guess that's debatable. But yeah. So well, the prompt isn't what does Andrew Wilson like about Trump. It's that Trump sucks. That's your position. So why does Trump suck?
I think his economic policy is incoherent. I think that he's the most openly corrupt president we have ever had. I think that his foreign policy and his diplomacy skills are trash, and that he's got the emotional IQ of a 17-year-old.
Oh well, what about you don't like his economic policies? Why not?
Because the tariffs are not going to do anything besides maybe raise some taxes to make up for his rich friend's tax breaks.
Well, help me out here.
I think
How would you, if you were competing with China and they were stealing the intellectual property of your citizens, how would you level the playing field without employing tariffs? Because that's what Biden did, and that's what Democrats have traditionally done as well. They put in a protectionist tariff in order to protect industries here in the United States. Can you actually give me an economic plan to protect American industry without using tariffs? How would you actually even
um
do it?
yeah. So first of all, you can be for targeted tariffs and against blanket tariffs. And doing things. I think tariffs in general um, are to buy votes. I don't think that you can actually say that tariffs do very much good for the economy to protect industry when things such as like steel tariffs and lumber tariffs maybe protect a few thousand jobs
Okay, well,
and get
how
a
would
few
you
thousand
protect our
votes in a swing
industry
state.
without tariffs? Is my question. How would you do it?
Okay, so you would subsidize these industries like the Chips and Science Act.
So,
So I can show you.
so wait
I
a
can show
second. So
you.
what you want to do is, I'm sorry, if the government's giving a subsidy,
Uh-huh.
do they ever give subsidies and direct payments? By the way,
Yeah, sure. Why
yeah.
not?
And who does that come from?
From the federal government,
And where do they get their money?
from us,
So why are you concerned about tariffs? Because you think they're going to raise the taxes when your plan would be to do the same thing, raise taxes.
because this works differently. So tariffs stand in the way between us and free trade, and it disincentivizes trade and will shrink GDP and also cause medium to small businesses to be hurt and potentially go out of business.
Same thing
Uh,
happens when the
so
government picks winners and losers when they're utilizing investments like you're talking about with subsidies. Don't you agree that due to the fact that on Capitol Hill you have all sorts of lobbying groups that come in from megalo businesses, that they're probably the ones who are going to get awarded these subsidies?
yeah, tariffs alone. The difference is so. We subsidize, for instance, gas, right? We subsidize the gas industry to make it to where certain areas or just the United States as a whole has cheaper gas and
Well, what do you mean? Well, wait,
can
hang on.
produce
Help. I'm
cheaper
sorry.
oil.
I got to stop
Let
you
me
here.
finish.
But I need to get this clarified before you gish gallop
Okay.
everywhere. What do you mean when you say we subsidize the gas industry? What does
We
that mean?
we give out subsidies to make it cheaper to produce oil.
Yeah, right. Okay. And what do those subsidies look like?
I don't know, tax write-offs for doing oil on certain types of land, giving them some sort of um, incentive monetarily to send gas to a certain part of the country. We also I don't know. I could probably look some up for you, but
So we
the
lower
reason
their
I'm
so
bringing
we
this
lower
up,
their taxes.
no, we actually give them money.
Yeah, or direct payments. Lowering their tax or
Yeah.
giving them direct payments, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And
And that
who's
makes it
giving
to
them
where
their direct payments?
the people.
The people are giving them the direct payments, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is this a tax
You're
break?
missing my point.
How's that a tax
You're
break,
missing
bro?
my point. You're missing my point. The reason that this is important is because these companies can operate with, I guess, with mitigated cost of
Tax breaks?
with mitigated operating costs.
Yeah.
Yes, so they can eventually compete on the world in the world market. So when we give them money to offset some of their operating costs, they're able to sell these goods for a competitive price rather than being stuck alone. And you can say, oh, well, taxpayers paid for that. Well, it also allows them to compete.
Oh, I
So
see. I see. How are they going to compete with foreign wages, sir?
Yeah, exactly. That's my argument against tariffs.
That would be a terrible argument. How could you ever have a company compete with foreign wages absent tariffs? Can you give me any way you could do that?
Yeah, with subsidies.
So you can't do it with subsidies. How are you going to compete with Vietnam via tax subsidies, dude? Show me how. Show me the math.
Okay, so when we talk about microchips or EVs,
how about we just talk about T-shirts?
Okay.
Yeah, T-shirts. How are you going to compete with Vietnam? How are you going to compete with Vietnam when they're paying their labor force 50 cents an hour? How are you going to do that?
The T-shirt model is not going to work, right? But things like microchips and EVs will.
Great. So
I can pretend like this is a model that works.
Why did you mute me?
We can say I didn't.
Don't do the mute thing, dude. Don't do the mute thing.
I didn't do it. My
it's such scumbaggery. We're having a great conversation. Don't do the Parker mute thing.
Andrew, I'm going to continue talking now.
Okay, but don't mute me. Like you didn't need to.
Okay, I didn't do it.
Okay, but don't tell your mods not to do it again. So it's not very nice.
Okay, so say if we had a T-shirt company and we were competing with Vietnam and they made shirts for $5 and we made them for 10. I know that's not the real price, but you're going to work with me here on this hypothetical.
Okay.
And the federal government came in and they gave that company $5 credits for each shirt that they made. And that would put us in a level playing field with Vietnam, right? In this hypothetical?
In the hypothetical, sure.
That's how subsidizing these companies to manufacture goods domestically helps us compete on a world scale, not just tariffs, because tariffs only disincentivize any sort of innovation. So when we talk about I always say this, we could copy a manufacturing plant from China and put it right here. And the difference would be, just like you said, wages and cost of living. They would be able to far outpace us because of the lower cost of living and the lower cost of wages.
Okay, great. Before you get off into the framework here, I was willing to engage in this particular hypothetical at a 5 to 10 loss, right? Okay, you take a 5 to 10 loss. If they're paying their labor force $1 an hour, and your standard minimum wage is $16 an hour, how are you going to compete with that, man? Is the government going to subsidize $15?
If the industry called for it, if it was valuable enough for it, just like the Chips and Science Act, if we said that superconductors or EVs or biomanufacturing was worth it, and it wasn't something so.
But why not just bankrupt them? Why not just bankrupt those companies by saying, okay, we're not going to import your cheap crap here, right, without charging you an exorbitant amount? They go bankrupt, and now we have our own T-shirt manufacturer. Why is that not a better plan?
I think you're confused on who pays the tariffs.
I'm not confused at all about who pays the tariffs. These companies who are importing are going to charge. They're going to take that tax, and they're going to make the people who they're ordering, they're going to pass it on to them. That's how that goes, man.
That's not how that goes.
Oh, okay. Explain to me then. If you're a company and you're importing a T-shirt, let's say, domestically, right? And you're getting charged, let's say it was like a $15 tax, a tariff tax that was put on for a $16 T-shirt. Would you import those T-shirts anymore?
Yes, they would have a loss in revenue.
Why would you import them if you could make them for the same amount of money? Why would you import them?
You're forgetting the other.
No, answer my question first. Answer my question first. Why? Answer my question first. Would you?
You wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Right? You wouldn't.
Correct. But the rest of the world would continue to, and that wouldn't put them out of business, would it?
Unless you did this. Like, this is why you were so wrong about the blanket tax. So, like, let's take Canada, for instance. You're probably against a tariff on Canada, one of our allies, right? Except one of the ways that China can avoid our taxes, our tariff taxes, is that they can use the back door by going through Canada, who we have a free trade agreement with. So Canada then imports their stuff, and then we buy from Canada via free trade, right? So we haven't actually hurt China at all. So the only way you can do that to close the back door is how? Well, you put the same tariff on... Hang on, stop. You put the same tariff on Canada in order to stop that from happening. You literally can close the back door. No, I'm not wrong.
You misunderstood what my point was, and you sound silly.
No, I didn't misunderstand your point. What I'm
you did.
refuting your point. I'm telling you, you can't stop any of these industries
Andrew,
absent a tariff. You've already told me
I
that.
don't know how you have a YouTube channel, but here's why you're wrong.
Because I'm way better debating than you. That's why.
Oof. Okay. What I was saying was, say you're China and you make goods cheaper than the United States, and you think tariffs will offset this, and now we only have to compete domestically with the cost of the goods from China plus the tariff. So we are hypothetically making shirts now that cost a little bit less than what China sells them to us plus the tariff. The rest of the world buys them from China, bro. I'm not saying we go through the rest of the world to buy them from China. I'm saying the rest of the world, Norway, Europe, the EU, Australia, they're going to go buy these things
unless
from China
you put
still,
a tariff on them too for their goods.
How would we put it?
Because if you go to the EU and you say, if you continue to import X good, I don't know why you're laughing. This is how trade is done. And you just didn't know this. But if you were to go to like an EU nation and say, if you import Chinese goods, we'll put a reciprocal tariff on your goods imported unless you put in the same tariff tax. That's how a trade war is done, you doofus.
Yeah.
Why? How did you not know that?
You have to prove.
Tell me, how did you? No, tell me how you
case.
didn't know that. Why didn't you know that?
You'd have to prove that that's the case. They're not going to do that.
What do you mean, prove that that's the case? You want me to? We can go through all of the various tariff policies for the last 100 years, and I can show you any time we've had a tariff war with another country, we've gone to our allies and had our allies institute the same tariff because otherwise it doesn't work. Institute the same tariff because otherwise it doesn't.
Andrew, you're a horrible debater, and someone paid to kick you already.
What a doofus, dude.